Greetings. Welcome to the fourth chapter in this series on the history of Serbia and the Serbian people. Previously, we covered the history of the Serbs from the 10th to the 12th century by following the exploits of two related ruling families, the Vojslavljević Dynasty of the Kingdom of Duklja and the Vukanović Dynasty of the Grand Principality of Raška, the main medieval precursor state of modern-day Serbia. We left off in 1165 with both Duklja and Raška as vassals of the Byzantine Empire and the last Vukanović a Byzantine prisoner. A cadet branch of the Vukanović family used this crisis to seize power in Raška. This was the legendary Nemanjić Dynasty, legendary as it transformed Serbia from a tribal polity into a proper feudal monarchy and laid the foundations of modern Serbian national identity. Over the course of this and several following chapters, we will be exploring how the Nemanjić rulers of medieval Serbia rose from the position of vassals of the Byzantine Empire to contenders for its legacy. Let us begin. Stefan Nemanja, after whom the Nemanjić dynasty was named, became the Grand Prince of Raška by emerging as a victor in a civil war with his elder brothers Tihomir, Miroslav, and Stracimir. The conflict started when the three put Stefan Nemanja in prison, and the cause appears connected to him holding some lands as a direct vassal of the Byzantine Emperor, where he ruled independently of his brothers. This either made them jealous of his privileged position or led him to expect to be named the next Grand Prince of Raška. However, Manuel Komnenos, the reigning emperor, appointed Tihomir. In 1166, Nemanja escaped from prison and seized power in Raška. In 1168, he clashed with his brothers at the Battle of Pantina, during which Tihomir died, while the other two brothers were forced to accept Nemanja as their liege. Having taken over Raška, Nemanja recognized Manuel as his suzerain, but when war erupted between the Byzantine Empire and Venice in 1171 over a trade dispute, he seized the opportunity to rebel. However, the Venetians were quickly outmatched, allowing the Byzantines to turn their attention to Nemanja. Faced with an overwhelming force, he surrendered and was paraded through the streets of Constantinople like the leaders of conquered peoples during the height of classical Rome. And yet, somehow, he convinced Manuel to forgive him and reinstate him as Grand Prince, remaining loyal until the emperor's death in 1180. In the meantime, Nemanja devoted himself to strengthening his authority at home, particularly by engaging in an activity that would become the hallmark of his dynasty, ktitership, a term used in Orthodox Christian countries to denote patronage of the church through the construction of monasteries, such as Studenica, one of the most famous in Serbia. The church in the Middle Ages was a significant political factor due to its influence on the general populace, which it could use to bolster a ruler's legitimacy, and thus help with efforts to centralize power, a precondition for establishing a stable state. Furthermore, churches and monasteries were centers of learning and important economic factors in the Middle Ages, the precursors of modern-day institutions such as the formal education system, public healthcare, and various scientific and cultural establishments, which made them crucial for administration, economic development, and the general improvement of life. By building zadužbine, or endowments, Stefan Nemanja ensured the backing of the Orthodox clergy, but also made long-term investments in the cultural and economic development of Serbia, which made him stand apart from previous Serbian rulers, who left little in terms of cultural legacy, as they had to spend most of their resources fighting to survive in the ever-turbulent Balkan geopolitical landscape. With things thus secure on the home front, Nemanja could once again attempt to challenge the Byzantine dominance. In 1180, Manuel Komnenos, perhaps the last truly powerful Byzantine, that is, Roman emperor, died, and the empire became engulfed in a succession crisis which allowed several enemies to attack it practically simultaneously. In Asia Minor, the Seljuk Turks raided deep into imperial territory, while in the northwest, the Hungarians, whom Manuel had previously forced into a form of vassalage, took the regions of Dalmatia and Srem and key Byzantine fortresses of Belgrade and Braničevo, while also drawing Kulin, the Ban of Bosnia, and Nemanja's relative, into their orbit. In 1183, Stefan Nemanja joined the Hungarians and, with their help, captured the strategic city of Niš and the area around Sofia. At the same time, he laid claim to Duklja, basing it on his descent from the Dukljan Vojslavljević dynasty. This campaign culminated in the seizure of the fortified cities on the Adriatic coast, which had, ever since the Slavic settlement of the Balkans some 600 years earlier, remained part of the Byzantine Empire. The only among these Byzantine cities which Nemanja failed to take was Dubrovnik. After several attempts, he signed a peace and a trade agreement with the city leaders. For the rest of the Middle Ages, Dubrovnik would play a key role in Serbia's economy as the main avenue of trade with the Mediterranean, while its archives would prove crucial in the 19th and 20th centuries for the reconstruction of Serbian medieval history. Apart from eastward and westward, Stefan Nemanja also advanced southward, occupying Hvosno, now known as Metohija, as well as Kosovo, the South Morava Valley, and the area around Skopje. He owed much of his success to the mounting troubles that the Byzantines were facing. In 1185, the Normans of southern Italy, a bitter rival of the empire, captured the stronghold of Dyrrhachium and sacked Thessaloniki, the largest Byzantine city after Constantinople. However, their conquest was not to last, as they had overextended themselves and were forced to retreat. Nonetheless, they had dealt a painful blow to the empire, which was compounded by a rebellion in Bulgaria in the same year. All of this greatly contributed to the downfall of the infamous Andronikos Komnenos, who had deposed Emperor Manuel's son, Alexios II, in 1183. In 1185, the new emperor became Isaac II Angelos, and already in 1189 had to face a major challenge, the 100,000-strong Crusader army of Frederick Barbarossa, on its way to retake Jerusalem from the Muslim leader Saladin. The Byzantines suspected that the true target of the German army was Constantinople, not Jerusalem. This distrust resulted in skirmishes between the forces of the two sides almost as soon as the Crusaders crossed from Hungary into Byzantine territory near Belgrade. Stefan Nemanja sought to use this to his advantage. Unlike the Byzantines, he prepared a lavish welcome for the Germans, establishing cordial relations but ultimately no alliance. Nonetheless, this encounter further inflamed Byzantine suspicions regarding the Crusaders' true intentions. While moving eastward, German troops frequently clashed with Byzantine soldiers. This tense situation prevented Isaac II from acting against Nemanja, at least until Barbarossa's fatal drowning in a river in Asia Minor in 1190, which allowed the Byzantines to finally breathe a sigh of relief and turn what strength they had left to recovering lost territories. They first tried to subdue Bulgaria, but failed. However, they were more successful against Stefan Nemanja, defeating him at the Battle of the Morava River, but not thoroughly enough to completely neutralize him, which led to negotiations. Although he had to relinquish a larger part of his conquests, Nemanja had nonetheless achieved much. In the west, he had secured greater access to the Mediterranean, while in the east he was no longer confined to the mountainous Raška, as he now controlled the large and fertile plains of Hvosno and Kosovo, along with an even greater portion of the Morava River system, where agriculture was more productive and could sustain a larger population. He also gained prestige, as to cement the peace, Emperor Isaac II offered an honor previously reserved only for the most powerful rulers, a marriage between an imperial princess and Nemanja's second son, Stefan. This greatly enhanced Nemanja's standing, both within Serbia and abroad, as it effectively amounted to his recognition by the emperor as an independent ruler. After this, Nemanja remained at the helm of Serbia for 6 more years, devoting them to strengthening his dynasty's authority and building churches. By this time, he was over 80 years old and probably weary of ruling. In 1196, he decided to abdicate and become a monk, taking the name Simeon. By doing that, he was following in the footsteps of his youngest son, Rastko, who had several years earlier renounced royal pomp and privilege and joined a monastery. Rastko had taken the name Sava and resided on Mount Athos, a great center of Orthodox monasticism in northern Greece. Stefan Nemanja joined Sava on Mount Athos, where they proceeded to build Hilandar, probably the holiest of all Serbian monasteries, due to its monks' immense contribution to the Orthodox cause in Serbia. It was there that, in 1199, at the age of 86, Stefan Nemanja passed away. But that was not quite the end of his story. About a decade after his passing away, it was discovered that his remains had been preserved, which led to his canonization. This not only elevated his personal legacy, but also strengthened the legitimacy of his successors, who could now claim descent from a saint. Because of this, and their own contributions to the Orthodox Church, many of them were also proclaimed saints, granting the whole Nemanjić dynasty the status of Svetorodna loza, the sacred lineage. Stefan Nemanja's success in throwing off the shackles of Byzantine suzerainty, his understanding that territorial enlargement was not enough to secure Serbia's future, that it also needed strong political and cultural foundations, and his status as a saint and progenitor of a sacred dynasty whose 200-year-long rule coincided with almost continuous Serbian territorial, economic, and cultural expansion, secured his place of honor in the annals of Serbian history. Today, his name and that of his family are inseparable from Serbian statehood, as he is considered the father of the Serbian nation. With that, we conclude this chapter. Thank you for watching. If you would like to learn how the sons of Stefan Nemanja continued his work by elevating Serbia to the rank of kingdom and gaining independence for the Serbian Orthodox Church, subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when the next episode is released. Until then, you can leave a comment to stimulate the algorithm and check out the other videos about the history of Serbia on this channel.